Hello and welcome to Crucible of Worlds for more dedicated legacy action. Today we're playing a donation deck of a mono-white Stompy deck, but it's not the standard initiative deck. It's actually something more akin to the Perez mono-white deck we've played a few times on the channel, which uses Urza Saga as one of its primary threats, and then just has like a bunch of good stuff that have disruptive elements. So we're not actually going into the Undercity at all in this deck, which is quite fascinating to me. So we have Anointed Peacekeeper and Archon of Emeria as our primary disruptive threats. And then we use Chalice of the Void and Trinisphere to sort of lock our opponent out of being able to do stuff, whilst we get to pump out some other Saga tokens and end the game that way. And that's most of the deck, really. We've got a little bit of removal and Touch the Spirit Realm and Solitude. And then we have a bunch of cyclers. So we've got Timeless Dragon and Eagles of the North. We've got a few little silver, well, not silver bullets, we're not really tutoring for them, but we've got some useful effects here. So we've got Sevinne's Reclamation, which we can use as card advantage to get some stuff back. We have Crucible of Worlds, so we can Urza Saga and Wasteland lock our opponent. And we have Palantír as just a way of generating some card advantage, which can be a bit awkward against Orcish Bowmasters because they just choose you to draw and grow their Bowmasters every time, which isn't necessarily ideal. We've got two currency converters to go along with our Urza Saga. These will be getting extra value, and we do things like Eagles of the North and Timeless Dragon cycling. And we can also just filter our draws later on. And we've got one Shadowspear for our Saga plan. We've got some fast mana, 4 Chrome Moxes and 1 Mox Diamond. And we've got a bunch of soul lands. We've got the full 8 here. So we are trying to power out 3 drops early if possible, as well as like Chalice on turn 1. Now I've played, like I said, I played the Perez version of this deck. I don't know who actually innovated this particular build, but the Perez build I've played before a couple of times, which just had the one initiative threat, looked quite a lot like this, to be honest. Although we are leaning more into the prisony elements here than those decks did, which has differing returns basically on the matchups, I find. Nevertheless, we've got a whole bunch of basic lands as well, and we can obviously find more basic lands with our cyclers. So I've seen this deck in action and it looks pretty reasonable. Phil over at Faerie played this deck a little while back, and I will link that in the description below if you want to go and check that out. I think he got a trophy with it as well, so it's quite a lot for us to live up to. But I don't want to see this deck rolling again, so here we are. Sideboard-wise, we have an interesting higgledy-piggledy selection of things. So we have Emrakul to bring in against the painter decks so that our library will keep shuffling in. We have Ensnaring Bridge against things like Show and Tell. I imagine that's for. Not necessarily convinced that's where we want to be in the matchup, but it's there nevertheless. We've got Ratchet Bomb, we've got Null Rod, we've got some Graveyard Hate, some random ways of getting through red decks here. Destroy all lands in the form of Ravages of War and Armageddon. Blowing up all goblins, a bit more Graveyard Hate, couple of ley lines, much by the way, light and a wrath. So our sideboard is kind of a bit of a mess. Like, we have some overlapping effects here, but it is kind of all over the place, and it's not necessarily going to be the easiest thing to sideboard with. But here we are. I don't really think I have much more to say about this one. Let's just jump in and see how it fares. Remember to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. It is also the last week of my content before we get to December, where we're going to be going heavily into a Marit related portfolio. So stay tuned for that one if that's your sort of jam. All right, time to play some of this deck. Eagles of the North. Let's see if they can get us some W's. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? Alright, so we're on the play for game 1. What does our hand do? This Mox Diamond does not look very good. We have 2 mana on turn 1, but then don't really get to do anything with it. I think this is a mulligan from me. Okay, we have turn 1 Chalice, turn 2 Palantír. And if something goes wrong, we can always go and fetch more lands if we want to. Although, would you rather have plain cycling off the Timeless Dragon or plain cycling off the Eagles of the North? I think that's what we're getting rid of here. The Timeless Dragon represents a better threat because we can cycle this and return it. But if something happens to our Ancient Tomb, we might not have the mana to cycle this Timeless Dragon. So I think we are supposed to throw the Timeless Dragon back. So begin with an Ancient Tomb. Throw down a Chalice for 1. And pass the turn. A Wasteland. Oh look, that exact thing that I said might happen has happened. So I feel somewhat rewarded for choosing Eagles of the North. We've drawn another one. We will cycle this now just in case there's any sort of weird shenanigans going on. Alright, there is our planes. I'm not really sure what weird shenanigans can get us there because Stifle is already locked out by the Chalice. Another Eagles of the North, you say? Alright, let's plane cycle this one away. So we have Palantír next turn if we want it. We can cycle this other Eagles if we just want to make sure we're hitting land drops, which I think is probably an okay place to be. And marsh flats from our opponent. Now they can start deploying some stuff of their own. Alright, let's plane cycle this now. Over to us. Chrome Mox, not the most helpful. Let's try our Palantír. They're going to play an Orcish Bowmasters and this is going to feel awkward, but we can touch the Spirit Realm, their Bowmasters next turn. Here it comes. So our opponent could be on 60 card black-white taxes. That's what I'm getting the impression of. Yep, so we're going to see the Bow Boys. So we will get to draw a bonus card this turn. Alright, we'll put the City of Traitors on the bottom, I think, here. We'll put this on top. They can either take 5 or they can give us a Solitude. Yes, it will grow their Orc. Alright, they're just taking the 5. Interesting. There's a Caracas. There is a Flickerwisp, probably on the Chalice here. Yeah, so that's going to unlock things like Swords to Plowshares and Ephemerate from our opponent if they run in that. Up 0 drops, so our Chrome Mox is even deader than it was a second ago. I think we are incentivized to kill the Bowmasters here. Alright, let's see what Palantír yields for us. We definitely don't want the City of Traitors, that can go on the bottom. Touch the Spirit Realm is probably an acceptable draw here. Alright, they let us draw it. Sure. Just can clear the Flickerwisp. Alternatively, we can cycle it, not cycle it, channel it to flicker the Orc army out of play, if that's a better play at the time. I'm not sure that will be though. Skyclave Apparition. We're going to lose our Touch the Spirit Realm and they're going to get their guy back. Okay. Well, they're taking out the Palantír, that's interesting. A Wasteland. A curious one. So we can take out the Skyclave and get ourselves a 3-3. And it also means they don't have a Skyclave around to keep flickering, which is going to be a problem for us. We have to deal with this Flickerwisp at some point. And I think we will just take out this Caracas, keep our opponent hemmed in on mana. And next time we can play an Archon of Emeria, which can trade with a Flickerwisp if necessary. And then we just need like a big business spell like our... not even a spell. The Urza Saga is kind of one of the big business cards we're trying to draw here. Right, our opponent's going to take away our Archon of Emeria now. Yep, there it goes. Not ideal. So if they want to start attacking, they will win this race if we draw nothing else. Ether Vial, sure. And they're leaving up the white mana, which suggests to me they have a Swords to Plowshares or an Ephemerate. Either one will kill our illusion token, because the Flickerwisp can just flicker out our token. Chalice of the Void. I'm not expecting much use from this one, if I'm being perfectly honest. We already have one thing to discard to a currency converter, so I don't mind playing this out. Right, so no Swords to Plowshares or Ephemerate now. They might not even be running Ephemerate, to be honest, but it's a possibility. If they just continue to turn their Flickerwisp sideways, they win this game. Right, they're presenting a 2-turn clock here. So if we don't find... Okay, Recruiter of the Guard. So we're almost certainly dead here. Now, we haven't really been doing anything powerful this game at all. And our Chalice didn't really shut down our opponent's draw at all. So our pieces just lined up very poorly this game. Loran of the Third Path. Sure. I can blow some stuff up. So now they have lethal unless we make another blocker. A currency converter we can't play because of our own Chalice. Yep, we're just dead here. Yeah, just didn't really feel like we were going anywhere for a lot of that game. A bit awkward. So things you can play. March of the Warrior Light has got text. Wrath of God has text. I don't really want to be playing Armageddon and stuff into the Ether Vial deck. Ratchet Bomb can take out an Ether Vial. I don't really think that's where I'm at either. It's probably just these two cards. And I'm not in love with the Chalices here. Let's trim a Converter and a Chalice. I don't mind having a Chalice, but I definitely don't want multiple. Alright, this is probably acceptable. We already have removal for artifacts in the form of our Touch the Spirit Realm. So pretty good against like some equipment and things. Alright, so we're on the play. What does our hand do? It cycles an Eagles of the North and then makes a Peacekeeper on turn 2. That's probably acceptable. And then we'll keep this. But something I've noticed with decks a lot like this when I've played them on the channel is when you try and accelerate your curve up, you know, to like 3 or whatever, you end up with a lot of hands that don't do anything on turn 1, which isn't necessarily the be all and end all of Magic the Gathering. But sometimes in Legacy, not really having turn 1 plays doesn't feel great. Right, so we'll play out our planes. We're not going to play out the Chrome Mox here because they could be running things like Prismatic Ending or something to blow it up that would make us feel bad. The downside is they could Thoughtseize it away, but is that what you Thoughtseize from this hand? I'm not convinced it is. Caracas. We'll Planescycle this now to be efficient with mana for later on. Another card from our opponent. A Currency Converter. I'm kind of tempted to just Wasteland our opponent and then play the Currency Converter. If our opponent did nothing with 1 mana, maybe they won't do anything. Alright, they didn't float either, that's interesting. Alright, so we have a Currency Converter, so if Thoughtseize hits us, we get something out of it. Alright, there's a Wasteland from our opponent. A Crucible of Worlds. That's certainly a Magic the Gathering card I have an affinity for. Alright, so let's play out this Chrome Mox. I think we're going to keep the threats here. And bottom this, well not bottom, but imprint this. And then if we play this out, we're probably going to stop our opponent from playing much in the way of spells. And then we just put our opponent into the Crucible lock. And we have a jolly good time while our opponent has a very miserable time. Ether Vial, sure. That's a pretty good one. Okay. So I think this turn we play our Anointed Peacekeeper. We'll name the Ether Vial and then we'll Wasteland their Wasteland. They have a Solitude. If we name Solitude, what does that actually do for us? I think it probably has to be the Solitude, which is a bit annoying. Take our opponent off of lands altogether. So our opponent can slowly build up their counters for the Ether Vial until they get to a position where they can put in some of these things. But that's going to take a few turns. So they get no play this turn. Next turn they can play a Thalia, which is smaller than our creatures and does less. Oh, you're not going to like this play, opponent. Do really want to get this up and running, but I think the plan here is Crucible, Wasteland. Attacks. Bash for 5. If they don't play a land, I think we can play the Saga. Like, we already have a pretty reasonable clock here. So they got Bowmasters and Thalia. Now, if they put Thalia into play and then next turn have Bowmasters, they can first strike and ping our Peacekeeper, and that's a pretty solid play. City of Traitors, that's not really the one that we're looking for. Let's bash with the lads. Play ourselves, and there's a Saga. If our opponent activates their Ether Vial, we will cycle the Currency Converter before they can put in the Bowmasters. Sevinne's Reclamation is interesting. Lands in our graveyard is a great place for them to be. Sure, we can get extra treasure there. Treasure means bigger constructs. Alright. This could go up to 3 now and start putting their Recruit of the Guards in play, which then allows them to put Skyclad Apparition into play. This is a basic land. That's not the sort of land we get to kill, unfortunately. But I think we are far enough ahead that we can stomp our opponent from this point. Alright. What are they putting in now? A Loran of the Third Path. Alright. They're going to blow up our Crucible. I think it's already done its job, so that's not the end of the world for us. They can double block here on our Peacekeeper. Alright, so we've got this ticking. So we have 1 mana, 2 mana, and we have 2 mana here. We can have a 3rd mana if we use our Currency Converter. Do I want to jam our Anointed Peacekeeper? I don't really want our opponent to have Solitude abilities. think we just come in the sky for a little bit and then just make some big boys with our Saga. And then we can stick a Shadowspear on it and then we'll be doing okay. So they might put this up to 4 so they can get towards the Solitude. So they might activate this to put in a 3-drop, then tick up to 4. But we don't know what's in their hand, so there's a lot of options available to them. Alright, so they're doing what I said they would. So what is this? Recruiter of the Guard. Yep. A Flicker Wisp. Does this mean they're not ticking their vial up? They are ticking up. That's interesting. I don't believe our opponent is attacking here. Right, so this is going to grow their Orc. And give them another chance of finding a land drop. Did find a land drop. Let's make one of these. Let's make a treasure. Just trying to work out how we Wasteland this turn as well. If we do this, make another token. Then we can go and get a Chrome Mox and put a Wasteland in. Or we could just get the Shadowspear and just bash. Let's just have the Shadowspear and bash, I think. Let's put it on the biggest boy here. So this guy is a 7 power guy. So they need to put 2 points of power in front of this, which means the other guy can attack freely and so can this. And then it will trample over and still kill them. Alright. So I think I'm happy with how I've sideboarded here. Let's just go in again. So we can play an Urza Saga game from turn 2 onwards with a little bit of removal and a little bit of prison-y elements. I think this is acceptable, but I'm not thrilled with it. Definitely some number of ways that this can go wrong for us. Like Wasteland is going to undercut what we're doing a fair bit. Alright. Ether Vial's a pretty strong start from our opponent now. So we could try and just get rid of their Ether Vial next turn using a Touch of the Spirit Realm, rather than indexing into this as a Saga. I don't hate that as a strategy. I think it might be necessary as well. Because this Ether Vial, the mana advantage is going to gain them over a couple of turns. It's just going to be too much for us to overcome, I think. And if their mana base is a little bit squiffy, we can also deal with that. Chalice of the Void. It's not really the one here. Alright, so let's get rid of this Ether Vial. Haven't seen any Mother of Rune type stuff yet from our opponent. Okay, they're going to flash in a Bowmaster at end step. Kind of disincentivizes us from playing this Palantír. Just a white source. Samwise. Alright, they're just buying back a land. That's not that spooky, to be honest. Now we're quite far behind on our Urza Saga plan here. Our opponent doesn't have a land. Okay, they've got a Wasteland, so they're probably going to take out our Tomb here and set us back a bit further. Yep. Let's hope that's their Wasteland over and done with. Let's put Chalice for 1 into play. Shuts down future Ether Vials and Source to Plowshares. Cathar Commando. Haven't seen that one for a hot minute. This is much better as a 3-1 than it is blowing up our stuff. Unless they want to attack and then blow up our Urza Saga, I guess. That would be an acceptable use of that card. They do also have Caracas Samwise Lock. So they can just constantly do that and then rebuy their, like, whatever they want, really. And also be going up the ring as well. So they could sacrifice this Cathar Commando to blow up our Urza Saga. Then they can bounce. Oh, I suppose they don't have enough mana to bounce their Samwise and redeploy it just yet. So they might be waiting on that. Okay. An Anointed Peacekeeper that we can't do anything with. Not very exciting. We can March of Otherworldly like their Samwise in response to like a Caracas activation. I've got Black Source. I've got a Bowmasters. It'll take us 2 cards if we want to kill the Bowmasters. We don't particularly care about the Bowmasters. It just means we don't play our Palantír, which is a bit of a liability, to be honest. So we can kill a little Orc token if we want to. Doesn't seem amazing. Maybe if we flicker out, that's kind of a big chunk of our removal gone though. I think that's acceptable here. Like that 1 point of damage is possibly going to be relevant, so it's worth preventing. We are just quite far behind now. We don't have any good catch-up mechanics. Certainly not if we're not drawing lands. Alright. Casting a Mox Diamond out on this Samwise does not feel like a winning strategy either. Oh, now this is something I'm down for. Let's get rid of the Samwise in response to the Karakas activation, so they can't just loop through the ring bearer mechanic, because that gets a bit sketchy later on. Oh, they've got another one. Okay. Not great for us. And they get to return that other one now. Okay. I don't think we can win this one now. We're too far behind. Alright, they destroyed 2 of our lands, and we haven't drawn another land after that. And now, even if we do play something, we're not going to be able to block their ring bearer very effectively. And we know they can just push themselves into the final part of this, which deals 3 damage when it deals damage to us. This is going to put us down to 4. I'm not really sure what we can do to come back from here. We just don't have particularly good catch-up mechanics in our deck. So we finally have a plains. We can play this guy out. And we probably have to name Samwise, so they can't just loop through the ring, but I think our opponent's going to notice that and immediately play the other Samwise. And then they can still cast this one. Yep, here comes the Samwise. They return their Samwise. Yeah, they're going to play the other one again. Yeah, okay, if they play the other one, then they just have the win there. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, we felt very outclassed in that matchup, I would say. I think our opponent's much better at playing the fair creature game than we are. Like, we have some disruptive threats, but their deck is designed to kind of go around that quite effectively. So yeah, a bit awkward. Let's go to round 2. Right, we have a turn 1 Archon of Emeria. That's probably going to be pretty good in a lot of matchups. Ancient Tomb. Chalice for 1. No, Fable the Mirror Breaker. That's kind of an annoying one. So our opponent's most likely on either some sort of red prison deck or Painter. Oh my god. This hand is not great. I think the play here has changed slightly. So we could go turn 1 Saga, Mox Diamond, pitching City, Touch of the Spirit Realm to get rid of this guy, and then start making construct tokens. Now, there's a chance they're relying on this for mana. And we want to keep the plains so we have a rich vein of white mana. Although, if we pitch this plains, it means we can definitely cast our 3-drops next turn. So that's where if they do something like a Blood Moon or whatever, we lose our Saga. I guess it's not really going to make much difference if it's Blood Moon, is it? Alright. Which also means we can cycle Eagles of the North and play a City of Traitors and start making some constructs. And that way we're set up for if we need to play some other spells. A Lotus Petal. This feels more like Painter to me. And there's 2 Solitudes in the bin as well from their Faerie the Mirror Breaker. So they might be the new... I guess they could just be red-white initiative, actually. That's certainly a possibility. 4th Eorlingers, X is 3. Can we beat that? Not sure we can, but we're going to give it a go. Our opponent is hell-bent, apart from this Monarch draw. Okay, I think we just play out the plains here. And we're just going to make some construct tokens. And hope that we can get that. Right, an Ancient Tomb. We can trade with a token here, but I think I would rather have a Saga construct on attacks. Especially since we already have the mana to put the Shadowspear on a creature as well. If that's what we're up to. Let's make a friend. Get a pointy stick. I think we'll play the City of Traitors to save ourselves some life. Equip our friend here. Attacks. this will get the initiative off our opponent unless they have their third Solitude and a white card. Sorry, not the initiative, the Monarch. I imagine they just take the whole 5 here. Alright. A profitable exchange of light turtles there. Chalice of the Void, not really one we want to play. Although we can play it for 0 just to pump our constructs. Which is probably fine. Alright, Chrome Mox from our opponent. So they're going to have 1 card here. After this. They don't have any white mana apart from this Chrome Mox. So they can't hard cast a thing, but they can play like a Fury or something. Probably the scariest thing they have available. Oh, another one of those. Yikes. Is that us dead? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and we block one of these. So we go to take 16. They have to attack with everything. They've correctly identified they can just attack for 18. So this is 8 times 2 is 16, and we block this, and when we die. Yeah? So our opponent's kind of doing similar things to us, but they've got much better things they're ramping out than what we have, which is pretty awkward. I won't lie. Ratchet Bomb is okay here. Can blow up a bunch of tokens and stop them from ever getting to do that. Wrath of God is okay if we end up behind and need to blow all their things up. All creatures have protection from red. This is good against Fury. A bunch of their things. I don't mind this one. We don't want the Crusade or the Ravages of War. Alright, so we're looking at these 3 cards. I think the Currency Converter is too slow to really matter in this matchup. Actually, the Chalices are pretty bad too. So if we keep the Chalice, if we keep the Currency Converter, that still gives us 1 more card if we want it. So it's probably much what we like. And that fits reasonably well. Like Trinisphere on the play is good. But again, on the draw it's just bad. Our opponent's just doing what we're doing, but better is kind of how I feel. Because I think the red-white initiative deck is, you know, proper tier 1 deck. Whereas what we're playing is a few rungs down the ladder from there. This hand is blank, so we'll have to mulligan this. We can make a turn 1 Archon and then start pumping out Urza Saga tokens. That feels very good. So we need to keep the Urza Saga as our land for the turn. A Mox Diamond, which means we need to keep other land for this. We have the Chrome Mox, which needs to keep a white card. And then we have the white card we're playing, and then we pitch one of these. So we keep these. It doesn't really matter which one we pitch here. We'll get rid of that one. So we'll play this out. Play out our Chrome Mox. Play out our Mox Diamond. So this hand should be good enough a lot of the time to win this matchup. This means all their lands are going to come in tapped. And they're not going to be able to play any fast mana apart from Spirit Guides. Alright, they just have a Solitude, so we're probably dead. Okay. Yikes. We do still have Urza Saga ticking, which can contest a lot of things. But, yeah. There's an awkward one. Free spells are good. There's a lovely basic mountain there. We'll play out this Wasteland, and we will pass the turn. We're constructing our opponent's turn. It's going to be a 3-3, and then a 4-4, then a 5-5 by the time it attacks. There is a Lotus Petal from our opponent. The Wasteland means they might only get 1 shot with whatever land they play this turn. Magus of the Moon. Interesting. If we Wasteland this Ancient Tomb, we don't get to play any of our 3-drops. So I think we just have to let this go and lose our Urza Saga. Alright, bash. Yeah, our opponent is doing more powerful. Our mono-white deck is struggling against their Magus of the Moon despite them being a 2-colour deck, which feels awkward. So I'm probably going to attack for 2 and then play an initiative creature. Nope, no initiative creature. Interesting. Now we still have access to lots of white mana. It's just that doesn't really go anywhere for us. We're probably supposed to play out this Mox Diamond to get 1 more damage through here. I think that was an error on our part. In theory, it doesn't change the clock, but if we find any other artifact, it would have changed the clock. So, right, makes the Moon coming in for a bit of damage. Opponent has 1 piece of white mana, and that's from the Lotus Petal. Seasoned Dungeoneer. Okay. It's a pretty good one. But we get to take the initiative back off our opponent this turn because of our Chrome Mox. Well, they might just let their Seasoned Dungeoneer die. Play this. Let's go attacks. Would you like your Seasoned Dungeoneer to chump block, or would you like me to get the initiative? Alright, I'm getting the initiative and taking a big bite out of our opponent's life total there. Let's get his planes. Play the planes and pass. Now, I don't like our spot here. Right, we're going to get bashed for 5 at least this turn. And then they'll either scry or pump their guy. 4th Eorlingus was the card they revealed, so that will kill us next turn. Yuck. Actually, they don't have the white mana. Actually, did they reveal? They must have revealed a plains earlier when they went into the Undercity, right? Yes, they have the 4th Eorlingus ready to go next turn. Cavern of Souls. A Fury as well. Yeah, our goose is well and truly cooked here. Yeah, our opponent is just doing what we're doing, but better. They're playing the tier 1 version of our deck, pretty much. So it's going to be tough. And like all of our prison pieces are kind of blank here. Like turn 1 Trinisphere or turn 1 Archon. Like a lot of the time, if they didn't have that Solitude, then our turn 1 Archon probably just straight up wins us that game. But because they did, we didn't really get to play the game very much. We're very all in, and the things we're going all in on are worse than the things our opponent's going all in on. All right, let's go to round 3. All right, what does our hand do? We can cycle Timeless Dragon on turn 1 and then play a Peacekeeper. Are we supposed to mulligan to put a 3-drop into play on turn 1? I think we probably are. Mox Diamond with nothing to pitch. We do have an interesting line with Currency Converter and 2 Cyclers though. So I'm not opposed to this hand. I think we maybe keep this one and throw away the Mox. We'll keep this. Get rid of this Mox. So we can begin with a Currency Converter. Do I want to play a Chalice of the Void on 0? Do I want to play a Chalice of the Void on 0? I don't think so. Swamp. What flavour of swamp are we looking at here though? If they make us discard any cards, then they go under the Currency Converter, and that's pretty good for us. Obviously not amazing for us, but it's fine. No play from our opponent there. Let's plane cycle our Eagles of the North here. So now we have a 2-2. We're going to get ourselves a plains. We can play our plains and pass the turn. And then next turn we can cycle Timeless Dragon, get another 2-2. Another swamp. A Thought Seize. Sure, more stuff for the Currency Converter, I guess. What would you like? Like, taking Timeless Dragon doesn't feel great. So I think that probably leaves them with Solitude or Chalice. Chalice is probably a thing they're going to struggle to answer in what appears to be a mono black deck. Right, I've taken the Timeless Dragon. That's interesting. Yes, I'll put the Timeless Dragon underneath the Currency Converter. Let's put the Eagles in the bin there. There is a consideration because our opponent can have reanimate effects. I think we're playing this on 1. We'll attack with our little rogue token. And then we will Currency Convert in our opponent's end step to get ourselves a nice little additional body. Khan's Silex enters the battlefield tapped. Players can't pay life to cast spells or to activate abilities that are mana abilities. Exile Khan's Silex, destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X or less. Well, that's going to destroy all of our permanents, so that's kind of annoying. Alright, so let's get ourselves another rogue to do a little bit more damage here. Let's bash for a bit here. I think we will cycle. Don't really like any of these. I guess we'll get rid of the Trinisphere here. So in their turn, they probably just pay 1 into the Silex and blow up 4 of our permanents. If we can find a land, we can put this Timeless Dragon into play though. Goodbye, all of my permanents. It was fun while it lasted. Him to Turak. Sure. Alright. So if we find a land, we can still eternalize the dragon. We did not find a land. I think we're supposed to play out the Solitude. Put the Solitude and the Chrome Mox and just play out an Archon of Emeria as something to beat down with. Our opponent feels like they're ahead, but we don't really know what's in their hand. If they've got a bunch of hand disruption at this point, it's not going to be doing them any favours. Liliana, that's going to lose our Archon of Emeria. Sure. Yeah, but our opponent's on, like, maybe mono black Pox. It's not quite a land, is it? Alright, let's plane cycle this. If we wasteland our opponent's Mishra's Factory, then we don't get to put the Timeless Dragon to play next turn. So I think we can afford to take a hit from this Mishra's Factory. And if we find a land next turn, then we can obviously do that. And also make our dragon. There's a wasteland from our opponent. Amazing for us. Khan, the Great Creator. It's going to shut off our Chrome Mox. We can still draw a soul land. I did not activate that Liliana, which is interesting. Soul land. Touch of the Spirit Realm. Target artifact or creature. So this does nothing. Yeah, it's pretty bleak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess we can stop them from being able to Microsoft Lattice Lock by taking out their Mishra's Factory with our Wasteland. But it's not looking amazing for us. Each player discards a card. Sure. What are they going to reveal? We could have Wastelanded at the beginning of their turn, I suppose. Okay, Liquid Metal Curtain. Yeah, we're not winning this one, are we? Yikes. What is our deck supposed to be good against is the question I'm now asking myself. I'm not entirely sure. So we're looking at like mono black kind of good stuff-ish. Is this a matchup where I like the Armageddons? It's been a while since I've Armageddon someone. Certainly not into it. Kind of just need to stick a guy and then do that sort of jazz. Leyline of Sanctity against all their like hand disruption is pretty reasonable against things like hymns and stuff. Sevinne's Reclamation is fine here. Currency Convert is also good against discard. I think that's just better than Leyline, isn't it? Let's be honest to ourselves here. We didn't really see much in the way of creatures for the Solitude to hit, so maybe they're not going heavily into that. Palantír seems acceptable here. Crucible is fine, but I don't think that's where I want to be. And take out the Sevinne's. Actually, no, if we're bringing in Armageddon, we definitely want the Crucible, don't we? Are we trimming an eagle? We're trimming a Timeless Dragon. Yep. Do not feel confident about this matchup, or indeed this entire deck as an entity. So we can go turn 1 Currency Converter to make their discard worse. Then we can do Trinisphere, and then we can just try and Wasteland and keep our opponent under the Trinisphere. This is a strategy, but it doesn't feel good. Like the other option there is the turn 1 Chalice, which is possibly better. Like it does stop like Dark Ritual into stuff. But alright, they're going to Thoughtseize us here, and they're going to take one of our prison pieces. I've gone for the Chalice here, which does give us a threat. Let's jam this. None of those are non-basics, which is sad. Anointed Peacekeeper, you say? Let's see what they're working with over there. Khan's Silex, Innocent Blood. I don't really want the Khan's Silex to come down. Smallpox, also kind of annoying. So we could deploy our City of Traitors and put Chalice on 1 to stop these Innocent Bloods. That seems acceptable. Actually, no, we can't do that because of our currency, because of our own Trinisphere, right? Alright, but we can currency convert here. There's the Wasteland. Innocent Blood. We will sacrifice our rogue token. Oh, okay. I just misclicked on that one, and I didn't get anything out of it. That's annoying. I didn't know it would let you misclick in that way. Okay, so let's draw a card and discard a card first. What Right, we'll get rid of a Chrome Mox, I think. Shadowspear. And we will Wasteland our opponent off their Wasteland and hope that they brick on land. And bash. They did not brick on land, so we're probably going to get hit with an Innocent Blood here. Could be a Smallpox, that's pretty good too. Nope, just an Innocent Blood. This unlocks the Khan's Silex from their hand, which is not great for us, as you can probably imagine. Eagles of the North. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not quite enough to do Eagles of the North, but I think this means we hold the Eagles in hand as a spell. This Khan's Silex is coming down this turn, and then it's going to shred everything. Yeah, it's sort of like a weird mono-black Planeswalker control deck. Interesting. Well, they're going to get everything here anyway. So I think we put the creature into play. And Urza Saga. It's a good one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not quite there yet. I guess we equip here. Get a little bit of damage in while we can. We can currency convert if we want to. So they're probably just going to blow the Silex, take out our Trinisphere, Converter, Rogue Token, and Shadowspear. That leaves us with Urza Saga as our win condition, which is okay versus a Smallpox, to be honest. Oh, a Liliana, you say? Interesting. Now, going upstairs with this, I think I would rather have the 2/2 here, because then we can just kill this Planeswalker right now. Okay, so we can clean that one up. We don't have enough to play this Archon of Emeria, but we don't really want to play it into the Silex either anyway, so surely now's the time you blow the Silex. Which was Factory. Goodbye, lots of our permanents. It was nice having you for a while. And a Retrofitter's Foundry. We could have avoided this with a well-placed Wasteland earlier. Let's make a construct. And fire off this Ancient Tomb for our mana here. I guess we'll get another currency converter. Seems like it's doing some amount of work for us. Let's bash for 3 here. We can Wasteland the Factory. Or we can convert some currency. So if we Wasteland the Factory, that's 1 less mana. So this is probably not going to affect this, but it means that they're less likely to be able to make this and cast a spell. But if we Wasteland this and then they cast, yeah, if they cast a Hymn to Turret, that's going to suck for us. I think we will do this now, looking for a land. Ravages of War. It's not really what we're here for, is it? Although, no, we'll put back this Trinisphere. We could just Armageddon next turn. And just assume that our 6 power, well, it'd be 8 power soon. And assume that'll be good enough. Smallpox, sure. So we're going to lose a land here. Which means that we're probably incentivized to get rid of the Ravages of War. Well, I do like the Ravages of War here. Alright, let's discard this Archon of Emeria. And we'll lose one of our guys. The land is a trickier one here. I think it's the Wasteland and we kind of go into Ravages of War as a plan with any mana source off the top. So I'll put this under. So we've got a stream of 2/2s coming. The Emissions Factory can block and do some pretty gross things though. Okay. Let's Ravages of War. You get a 1/1. I get more stuff. Yep, you get your 1/1 colorless servo, and then goodbye to all the lands. We go to attacks. Oh, it feels good to be casting Armageddon in 2023. That's normally a Q special, but here we are. So we're going to have 2 lethal threats next turn. Yeah, we got a game off the back of the Ravages of War. get that every day. I think I do want this Ratchet Bomb. I'm into that. Palantír seems good still. Chalice seems pretty reasonable, not incredible. Maybe we'll trim a Chalice. Ah, we've got another one of those not playable hands that we seem to find a lot. Let's mulligan this. This is turn 1, play as a Saga, start doing as a Saga stuff. Alternatively, turn 2, play Anointed Peacekeeper or Palantír. Then we'll keep this. I quite like having Palantír as an option. I don't believe we need the Solitude. Our opponent's not really big on the old creature front. So we're probably going to get Thoughtseize, and then we're going to have to base our turns on how we want this game to go from there. So we could Ancient Tomb first, and then plain cycle away our Timeless Dragon as well. Yes, that's a cost of 2 life, but this matchup isn't really about life that much. It's about our opponent just locking us out the game with their Planeswalkers. No play on turn 1 for my opponent there. A Currency Converter. Okay, I would like to have this and insulate ourselves versus the discard. The Currency Converter in this matchup has been doing a lot of work. There's a Wasteland. We get to dodge that from ruining our day right now. Dark Ritual. Okay, nothing fair ever comes from that. Khan's Silex. Okay. Yeah, this is an awkward one, isn't it? I think we can play out the Peacekeeper here. This gives us the ability to mess with our opponent's Silex. No additional land, though, from our opponent. Smallpox could be pretty awkward if they have it. Liliana could do some work. I think it's the Silex still, though. If we make that cost more mana, is that good? Or do we just want to name Smallpox? Smallpox can definitely ruin their own stuff. Innocent Blood. Maybe it's the Innocent Blood, actually. That's the thing they can actually cast. Alright. So next turn we can... I don't really want to play Palantír out onto this board with the Silex. Timeless Dragon, you say. Let's play our Urza Saga. Go to attacks. Bash for 3. So we can cycle 2 Timeless Dragons and save up a bunch of 2/2s to start beating with. Now they have a horrible choice with their Wasteland. Do they keep it as mana to pump into their Silex and Liliana? Or do they try and deal with our Urza Saga? Now they can just answer our tokens with the... Okay, a Dark Ritual. I'm going to say they can just answer our tokens with the... Yeah, sorry, they can answer our tokens with the Khan's Silex. Sorry, I've had many attempts at that sentence and it finally came out. So it'll be interesting to see what they do here. They want us to sacrifice a creature. Sure. So we will get to kill this Liliana now. Silex can only be activated as a sorcery. So let's cycle this for planes. Put it underneath our little friend here. Yep, we'll go again. Get our planes. Alright, we have lands for days now. I'd like to Wasteland our Urza Saga. And we'll go to attacks. Oh, they just had enough. Because we killed their Liliana here. They're left with 1 land. We can put Timeless Dragon into play. And the copy... They can probably nail it if they get a land here. But we have multiple creatures coming. But the Silex can clean it all up. I don't know. I think that's a very premature scoop from our opponent. But I'll take it. We're on the board with a match win. Let's get around 4.
If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel. A mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles. And lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.
Again, we've got a hand for round 4 that doesn't really play Magic that well. I'm going to have to mulligan this one. Yikes. So this gives us a turn 1 Currency Converter and maybe a turn 2 Palantír or Archon of Emeria. I guess we keep it, but it seems bad. I'm not a fan. We don't really have the... We haven't really been having the powerful things. Maybe we're supposed to mulligan a little bit deeper. Alright, let's get the currency converter down. It's something. Like, we definitely have some strong hands in here. In our deck. Pithing Needle. Is this going to name Wasteland? Ah, we got a... Yeah, I think we're playing against Turbo Depths here. As a Turbo Depths guy, that's what my Spidey sense is telling me. Alright, so we're going to play this Chrome Mox so we can start cycling stuff with our currency converter here. And we also have the Touch of the Spirit Realm, which is a really annoying card for Turbo Depths to deal with. Not if this well stops it though. There's Verdant Catacombs. Right, so we're on black-green depths, I believe. Sylvan Scrying, yep. Wonder how close to my list they are. My green-black list. Right, I think we will cycle here. I do like a Plains. So we get the Palantír in play this turn. Is Palantír good enough, or do we need the Archon? We'd quite like to make more land drops. Sure. I don't believe our opponent's going to kill us on their next turn. So we're just going to have a creature here. And just try and rely on the Palantír being good. We also can surprise remove their Pithing Needle. And that's going to be a real pain for them. Put this on the bottom of my library. Put this on top. For 6 damage. Our opponent will not let us draw a card. Yeah, they're just going to take 6. I don't really want the Eagles, but our opponent is definitely giving us the damage that turn rather than a card. A Thoughtseize. That's pretty good. God, why is Turbo Depths such a good deck? Some sort of genius has been working on it, perhaps. No, it is just a solid deck with a good game plan. There is the Hex Mage. They have a crop rotation potentially as well. Alright, what do we need here? Timeless Dragon. 1, 2, 3. We can't put this Timeless Dragon into play to block with. If we cycle this into a Solitude, maybe that's okay. Because we're drawing an extra card off the Palantír. Alright, we need the Palantír to find us a Solitude that our opponent lets us draw. That is a lot to ask. Bottom. Bottom. I don't think they're going to let us draw a card. Oh, we did find a Solitude. But now our opponent will just make the 20/20 and we die. Yep. Powerful. Alright. What do we want for this? I'm not opposed to land destruction. I like the Ensnaring Bridge. I think the March of the Light is good here. And the Leyline to prevent against hand disruption. These are all useful cards. I like Chalice of the Void still. Trinisphere is good if we can get it up and running. This matchup is definitely not about currency converter. Archon is good. Peacekeeper is fine. Crucible Wasteland is one of our best ways of actually winning the game. I don't think we need Shadowspear. Like if they get a 20/20, they get a 20/20 and kill us. So we can cut that. 3 more cuts. There is a lot of cuts. Palantír is probably quite slow. And we need 2 more cuts. Yikes. I'm not really enjoying this Mox Diamond very much. I think I'm going to trim that. And then we need to trim one more thing. It's probably an Eagles. Am I boarding in these Armageddons? I think so. Our opponent might think they're safe from land destruction. And they can always go under a Chrome Mox at the end of the day or get pitched to something. Solitude. Alright. What does our hand do? This is a turn 2 Trinisphere, which might not be good enough to do anything. We have no white mana. I don't think we can keep this one. What does this hand do? We have a Wasteland. We have an Urza Saga to start doing stuff with. I think we keep this. And we probably get rid of the Sevinne's Wreck here. So we can go turn 1 Urza Saga, start pumping out tokens. as early as turn 2, which I think we need to do because we need to try and win the game. It is annoying that we'll be losing some... We're going to be losing our City of Traitors at some point, but we do have just lands in hand, so I think that's okay. Our opponent's mulligan quite deep here. That's good news for us. But they can win on 3 cards. They can't beat our hand on 3 cards, necessarily, but they can win in the game on 3 cards with just Hexmage, Depths, Urborg. Not having any sort of Pithing Needle action in our deck doesn't feel great with these Urza Sagas either. City of Traitors, let's start making some guys. I don't think we need to do Ensnaring Bridge stuff yet. Our opponent's got Bayou into play. Got Swamp. Sylvan Scrying. Probably getting Dark Depths. Sure. Alright, let's make some guys. Make some more guys. We'll get Chrome Mox and we're going to imprint this Timeless Dragon. And then we go to attacks. Then I'll play this Wasteland out. Yes, we're going to lose our city, but this gives us a lot of room to slow our opponent down, and we've already put 6 power into play. And if needs be, we can always play an Ensnaring Bridge. So I think we are odds on to win this game. Our opponent mulligan to 4 certainly didn't hurt. Sylvan Scrying, is this going to be for Thespian stage? Ghost Quarter. Alright. There's the Ghost Quarter. Right, we'll go to attacks. Bash for 6. And play an Ensnaring Bridge. We'll draw up to 4 cards, and then when we attack, our guys will be able to attack. And then we can deploy something afterwards if we want to, but hopefully we won't need to. A Lotus Petal, sure. A Vampire Hexmage. Interesting. They have a lot of ability to interfere with what we're doing here. So they can Ghost Quarter our Wasteland, then we try and Wasteland their Depths. And then they activate their Hexmage. Honestly, I don't think it's worth it. I think we would rather just have the land here because we know they have that beat. If we attack, we force through 4 damage, but we lose a creature. Interesting. I think we just play out this City of Traitors. Sorry, not City of Traitors. This Urza Saga. Make more constructs and just do 1 big lethal swing in a few turns. And hope that our opponent can't string together the things they need to get through our Ensnaring Bridge. I guess we should have played the Archon there as well. But I wanted to keep cards in hand. I don't know, maybe that was an error. Alright, so this activates this. We can play out Wasteland. And pass. So some sort of Abrupt Decay is probably what our opponent's looking for here. A Pithing Needle, you say. Probably naming Wasteland still, but that's acceptable for us. Removing all the counters from there, 2020. This is to stop a Pithing Needle from our Urza Saga ruining their day. Joke's on them, we don't have Pithing Needle. If we play this Chrome Mox, it's actually not very helpful for us. I think we should say no find here, because we need to get enough cards in our hand to attack through our own Ensnaring Bridge. So in 2 turns time, we get to win the game. So we need our opponent to not have an Abrupt Decay right now. Weird game. Bash with all the boys. Alright, we got there. Game 3 on the draw. A little bit sketchier, I think, but yeah, we don't have amazing options. Like Shadowspear is something that can remove the indestructible and then can work with something like Ratchet Bomb, but that's so many interlocking pieces to get it to do anything. I don't think it's worth doing. I think we just keep as we are, rely on our Solitudes and Touch the Spirit Realms for the most part, and Chalice shutting off some problem permanents is good. Some problem spells, sorry, like Crop Rotation being the main one we want to shut off. Our hand doesn't really stop our opponent, so we need to mulligan. We have a Chalice, we have an Armageddon, which is interesting. But I don't think this gets... I think we need to find some answers. Alright, we have a Wasteland and a Touch of Spirit Realm. We don't have a white source. That is an issue for sure. But we can throw away this. And I guess we have to throw away the Trinisphere. The Trinisphere is the thing we get to cast. Is Trinisphere better than Chalice here? I'm not sure which of them is better. I think the Chalice is slightly better. Although Trinisphere plus Wasteland is an interesting combination. But it's just too slow, I think. But then we're probably not casting the Chalice until turn 2 anyway. Alright. I convinced myself. Protect against their discard. Right, Pith and Needle, this is going to name Wasteland. We can remove this at some point with our Touch of the Spirit Realm. Still playing out our Wasteland. Our opponent's a fan of the channel, which is always nice to see. They are playing our deck, after all. And I think they're going to beat us with it, but we've got some game. A basic Plains, I think, is better than playing Trinisphere here. Because we want to keep our City of Traitors in play. No play from our opponent still. Interesting. I believe they have an Abrupt Decay in hand. Pith and Needle, is this also going to name Wasteland? I think it should, because have they seen Touch of the Spirit Realm? They might assume it. Or they could name Touch of the Spirit Realm. So we can't flicker. Also just realised I keep calling it Touch of the Spirit Realm. There's no of in it, it's just Touch the Spirit Realm. Yep, Touch the Spirit Realm. Okay, we still cast Touch the Spirit Realm on the Wasteland one though, so that's something. Okay. Let's put a Trinisphere into play. This maybe makes the game go a bit weird. I think our opponent probably has a bunch of discard in hand, and our Leyline of Sanctity shut that down. Right, no play from our opponent there. Ravages of War. Do you want to get into that silly game? I don't think so. I would like to cast. Let's Touch the Spirit Realm though. Get rid of this Pith and Needle on Wasteland. I guess I can Wasteland here because they can't crop rotation. Yeah, I'm down with that. Alright, let's make this game annoying. That's what we're going for. Don't really want Ravages of War anytime soon, but... An Urborg, sure. Another City of Traitors, interesting. Put Chalice on 1. Right, so we're not playing out City of Traitors, obviously. Another Chalice. I think I'd like a second Chalice on 1. So they can't Abrupt Decay they can't Abrupt Decay both of them that way. But yep, the game's getting weird. My deck really wants me to cast an Armageddon effect, that's for sure. Now the problem is our opponent just needs one attack step with their combo, and eventually, oh, they got Legolas's quick reflexes. That's exciting. We don't have those. Not yet, anyway. We have a March of Otherworldly Light. We could fight off on a Pith and Needle. I don't really want to. I think this is going to kill a Marit Lage token at some point. There it is. Solitude. That's not unhelpful. Yep, the old beatdown is good. More friends to beat us down with. Yikes. An Archon of Emeria. We have to hold up the march here due to our own Trinisphere. Maybe we Solitude at end step and pick off one of the Hex Mages. Because otherwise we're just going to lose to these. We've got another one. Let's see. Alright. What are we pitching here? Like the Archon does shut their stuff down. Okay, I guess we'll pitch this Armageddon. Okay. Hold on. Let me... So we can... Spell cost 2 less to cast. Okay, so you're not paying for the mana cost. That doesn't work. We can play an Archon of Emeria, but it'll just get eaten by the Dark Depths. And then where are we? Nowhere good. But it does... If we play this, it clears a Hex Mage. And then we clear this, and then we take less damage. I think we have to play this out. And then we are going to play our Saga. Alright, our opponent didn't make the Hex Mage. That's exciting. Sorry, the Dark Depths. No, 3 mana Lotus Petal. So now pushing damage is pretty bad for them. Alright, now we're in a spot that I'm happy with. And we can start making some constructs, and then we're probably going to be doing some sort of March for Otherworldly Light Ravages of War play. But that becomes difficult to do. Alright, have we got more Hex Mages? We do. More Hex Mages. All the Hex Mages. Alright, we do get to make constructs now though. I don't know if we can make a second construct here. 1, 2. We get a third mana. It's not a third mana, is it? Because we haven't got a land. So if we make this construct, we are on blocking duty with our Archon of Emeria for 1 turn, which has been okay so far. Chrome Mox, well, not imprint here. I don't think. Well, if we imprint it, it looks like we're holding up the thing, but I kind of want all of these. Maybe put the Archon underneath it. Alright, so they can triple block this construct, which is a bit of a pain, isn't it? So I guess we're passing here. Actually, yeah, we still have to pass because they can make a 2020. We can't answer it. If they lose a Hex Mage, that gives us a shot here. As long as we can chump block with our Archon of Emeria. They got Sejiri Step, we lose. Alright. They're removing all the counters from our Chalices here. They're giving their guy a split second, and it's also going to jam through. Yep, that beats us. GG's opponent. Reflex look pretty cool there. Yeah, we are struggling with this deck today, to be honest. That was a weird game that could have gone some different ways. Like if we'd have held open March Otherworldly Light, we still lose that game because of Legolas's Swift Reflex. We don't have any time to actually interact with it. I guess we go in response to the first Hexmage activation on this. That probably works actually, because the way our opponent played it. But if we'd have had 3 mana up, they'd probably play that one differently anyway. Alright, let's go to the final round. We're on the play, and again we have a hand that doesn't really do anything. There's a recurring theme with this deck today. Let's mulligan. So we can play a guy on turn 1 that's pretty tasty. So what are we keeping here? If we keep the Crucible, I don't think we can keep the Crucible and the Saga. And if one of them has to go, I guess it's probably the Crucible. This is awkward because we're having to use one of our cities on turn 1. Right, I think we're going to put Touch the Spirit Realm on, and we're just going to go for an aggressive line here. Alright, Archon of Emeria can shut down a lot of decks. Any fetch lands are going to be real slow here. Yep, there's a Scalding Tarn. Eagles of the North. Hymn to Turak, Lightning Bolt, Ponder, Snapcaster Mage, Thoughtseize. I guess we're naming Lightning Bolt, aren't we? Just keep him behind here. And we will play out this Urza Saga and fetch for our planes, because that way we'll have 2 mana to activate the Saga next turn. Let's do it now to save time. And it's our opponent's turn. So they could Thoughtseize us, but that won't go anywhere. Maybe we're supposed to keep it in hand, so they might Thoughtseize us, and we get 2 free damage. But I think this turn they're... are they going to Ponder? Like, they need to have a basic, and they might only have 1 basic, and that might be an island. So it might just be locked into Ponder this turn. Get basic island, Ponder, play Underground Sea, pass. That's what I'm expecting this turn. Yep, there's the Ponder. Now, if they can find a red source, they might play that one first to sort of get towards unlocking and removal. Alright, Polluted Delta. Yikes, that's not the one for them, is it? I think it's better to get Saga tokens here than it is to Wasteland our opponent. Splash for 5. And then we can make some creatures on our opponent's turn, or a creature, and then make one on our turn. And then also Wasteland our opponent off of a land, and just continue jamming them up. This looks like a Grixis control list due to the Snapcaster Mage. And him is a little bit unorthodox in tempo decks. So I'm not expecting Daisies, I'm expecting things like Colligan's Command. There's the Underground Sea. Let's make a guy. If they have a basic swamp, they still can't Bowmasters this one away because it will be a 2-2 due to the Chrome Mox. So good options aren't really a thing our opponent has right now, which I'm certainly a fan of. Alright, they've had enough. Okay, when our deck does stuff like that, it looks pretty good. It does just feel like a worse version of the initiative, but it does some stuff. So what is going to be useful against our opponent who's playing Grixis? I don't think this is the Armageddon matchup as much as I want it to be. Rest in Peace is going to have use here. Absolute Law is going to keep some of their removal at bay for sure. But other than that, I think I guess Leyline is okay sometimes. But I'm not really about that. I don't really want to play Palantír into the Bowmasters. I like the currency converters versus the discard more than the Leylines. Maybe it's just like one of the Timeless Dragons goes. Or Sevinne's Wreck is kind of a nice grinding tool for later on in the game. Probably trim a touch of the Spirit Realm actually. Maybe we'll trim a touch over the Palantír as well, because the Palantír can be quite useful. Alright, we'll try this. So we have a Chalice, but then we're not really doing much after that unless our Wastelands are going to be enough to bury our opponent. Is that a thing we can realistically do? If we get Thoughtseize off of Eagles of the North, we're in trouble. Although I guess we still get to play a bunch of stuff. I don't really like prisony hands like this too much, but the double Wasteland is very tempting in the Grixis matchup. Go on then, we'll give it a whirl. There's a ponder from our opponent. So we're going to begin with a Chalice of the Void for 1. And then we're probably just going to start sticking Wastelands into our opponents. They chose not to shuffle, that's interesting. Right, we have double Chalice to try and thread the needle with here. Right, we're just in with the Chalice. So that's going to shut off Lightning Bolts, Thoughtseizes, Ponders, Brainstorms. All the best cards in that deck. We can then just stick a Chalice on 2 if we really feel like messing with our opponent. Him to Turak. We can just stick a Chalice on 2. The Palantír is a very tempting one though, isn't it? Alright. I do need a Plains. So we'll put this one on top. And then the Archon. If they mill, then we get the Plains next turn. If they don't mill, then we get the Plains next turn. Right, they milled, sure. So we get the Plains and then we can use that to put Archon into play if we want to. And then Wasteland our opponent. Just get our Sevinne's Wreck going. Later on we can kick this for the big flashback and just bring back a couple of Wastelands and just completely strip our opponent of resources. I believe our opponent is going to cast an Orcish Bowmasters and then let us draw a card off the Palantír. Yep, here it is. Here's the Bowmasters. Yep. I would like this. Solitude. It's going to make us draw a card. Oh no, they just milled 2 and now they're at 6. Do we want to hit our opponent's Underground Sea right now? So I have less mana for next turn? I think so. You've got Stifles over there. That's not going to work with our Chalice of the Void, but I wonder why they're cracking. Okay. Just stops them doing a big meltdown for 3 as well. Just go to attacks. Right, let's flash back to Sevinne's Wreck, getting back both of our Wastelands. Hope you didn't like having lands, opponent. Okay. That's not nothing. They're pinging our Archon here. So they're going to let us draw a card with this. I don't really want either of these. Rest in Peace. That's not great here. Okay, so now we are under the gun. But if we find a white source, we get to bring back our Timeless Dragon, which is pretty good. A Wasteland. That's not the one, is it? I guess we can play this Chrome Mox out, imprinting our Rest in Peace. Our Palantír is going to probably be the death of us, unfortunately. Here comes Timeless Dragon. Taking a lot of damage from an Ancient Tomb as well this game. Am I playing out of Wasteland here? I don't think so. No, we definitely don't want this. Is the Archon useful to us right now? Not really. Are we going to get another turn? I don't think so. This has to chump block here. This needs to go on the bottom. So they're going to ping us for 2 here. Grow their guy. We're going to have to chump block their Orc Army token. Then we're going to take 2 and we're going to be at 1. And then we're going to die to the next Palantír trigger. What can we possibly have? Right, Solitude type stuff isn't going to cut it. We're just dead there. Alright. Not really convinced by the old Rest in Peace. I think I'd rather have these Touch of the Spirit Realms just for Bowmaster type shenanigans. And between 2 of them, just because we've already got 2 in there. That's 3 and the 3 Solitudes. That's probably fine. Yeah, these. So the reason why Touch the Spirit Realm is nice as well is because we can flicker our own creatures and keep them alive in the face of removal. So it has kind of offensive and defensive capabilities. What does this hand do? We can play a turn 1 Saga and just start cranking out Saga tokens. That's pretty good against control decks. I'm going to go with that. Especially... oh, wow. Opponent's mulligan pretty aggressively there. Right, might be in for a second match win if we can get lucky here. Our opponent mulliganing pretty low is step 1 of that process. But we get to make some Urza Saga tokens. I think we probably cycle this Eagles. Or do we? 1, 2, 3... I'm not sure we do. We might save it for things like Chrome Mox, actually. Play out the city and just see if we can ride these construct tokens all the way. A brainstorm from our opponent. So Orcish Bowmaster will kill the first construct we make, which is a bit of a pity. We could have played this hand out differently to like make like a turn 2 Peacekeeper, but then where are we going? I think just playing out the Sagas makes more sense to me. I think Saga is the best card in our deck, so leveraging it feels good. We've got Bowmasters, no Bowmasters, interesting. What do we want here? Just more mana. Probably just more mana, isn't it? And this can put an Eagles underneath it. Are we playing out an Anointed Peacekeeper as well? I think so. This is the first time we've really offered up a counterspell target. So, yeah, Force of Will, pitching Murktide Regent, sure. Sudden Edict, sure. We can try Trinisphere next turn. If our opponent Brainstorm blocks themselves and doesn't have a land here, then the Trinisphere is going to be savage. Lightning Bolt. Okay, I think the best thing we can do here is play out another Saga. Oh, really? Your last 2 cards are Force of Will blue card. Fallen Shinobi, though. That's a spicy one. Alright. We didn't get to our Crucible online. That's pretty upsetting now. We're in top deck wars. We have a... Oh, wow. Okay, that's pretty good. 1, 2, 3. Here comes a Trinisphere. That should jam our opponent up a bunch. We can't play this currency converter and activate our Urza Saga, so we're just going to be activating the Urza Saga. That's the best thing we can do right now. Might be the best thing we can do in our entire deck, to be honest. Card is super good. Energy Flux. Energy Flux, you say? Interesting. Alright, we're going to make a guy here. So... we're going to pay 2 and keep the construct alive. And then we're not going to pay for anything else. We're going to get a Chrome Mox and not imprint anything. Bash for 3. This Energy Flux has been pretty good. Our opponent's hand, for a 5-card hand, has panned out incredibly well for them. Hymns of Turak, sure, we'll lose some other stuff. So we won't pay for our Chrome Mox. We will pay for one of our guys. And we won't pay for this one. Because we can't. We'll attack. In case of Hymns of Turak, I want to play out our City of Traitors here, I think. Is that true? I think it's true. Sucks if we draw another Saga, but our Sagas aren't very good right now anyway. Orcish Bowmasters, yep, our opponent has very much turned the corner. We need to find the non-artifact cards out there. We've basically drawn all the artifacts in our deck now, so about time we drew some non-artifact guys. Alright, we'll name the Lightning Bolt. Opponent's last card in hand is very strong here. They can just pay 3 mana, kill this. Yeah, our opponent's draws have been absolutely sensational this game, to be honest. Yikes. Wasteland. Nope. We're not playing that out. Oh, they don't have a very fast clock, but they are very much in command. Chalice of the Void. We can put this on 1 and stop a bunch of cantrips and stuff. But they will just energy flux it. We have to work out if we're paying or not. Ugh, yuck. I think we just have to pass. We can like stop 1 turn's worth of cantrips. That's not very exciting. Sure, you can take our Chalice. This Chalice being a shock is probably worth it for us. Like, at any point I play a Murktide, the game ends. But we still got some life in us yet. Nope, that's unplayable here. Little Bay Boy is just going to go all the way, I reckon. Eagles of the North. 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana, 4 mana. We cannot deploy our Eagles of the North. If we draw a land, we can deploy the Eagles of the North. Right, so we've drawn a land. So this is 4 mana. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we play this. I guess we play the Mox Diamond first and see if it resolves. I'll discard this. Play this out. Eagles of the North. This is a 2-turn clock. Our opponent could hard cast a Force of Will here. Oh wait, no, it's only a 1. It's a 3. Okay, they just have a removal spell, sure. It's not a 2-turn clock because it's when it comes into play it pumps your guys, not when it attacks. Apologies, I did not study the Eagles of the North too thoroughly when I read it. Alright, we're going down to 8. No point keeping this alive. Sevinne's Reclamation. Hello, Graveyard. What can you provide for us? Anointed Peacekeeper, I think, is probably the one. Meltdown and Hymn to Turak. I don't care about either of these cards. So I think we name Ponder here. Alright. We're now ahead on board. Slightly. We named the Ponder because they'd already had 2 Brainstorms. They found a Brainstorm instead. So they're going to put back both of those cards and just end up with a whole new grip. So basically they just cast Ancestral Recall because they had no cards in hand effectively. Because none of the cards they had did anything. Alright. What horrors beyond my comprehension are we about to face? If we get a Soul Land, a Mystic Sanctuary or something. A Lightning Bolt, sure. Right, so now they're casting a 3 mana Ponder to get that Lightning Bolt, which will then kill our Anointed Peacekeeper and then allow them to attack. If we draw a Soul Land, we can cast Sevinne's Reclamation, bringing back 2 Anointed Peacekeepers, which will be pretty good. Right, we just cast an Anointed Peacekeeper. Orcish Bowmasters and Urza. They can put the ninjutsu in, and that's going to be probably lights out for us here. Anything Orcish Bowmasters being expensive. Alright, we'll name the Orcish Bowmasters, but I think our opponent has us here. They can attack and Urza back one of their guys, and they know the top card of their library after this Ponder, so they might just be able to do the extra point of damage, the extra 5 points of damage they need if it's like a Force, which we know is still in their deck. They've already played one, they haven't boarded them out. They probably expect us to have initiative creatures, that's probably why they didn't board out the Forces. Coming in with both, or not? They are coming in with both. Alright, what is the trigger going to find? It's the Force of Will, exactly what drew up. Yeah, our opponent mulled to 5, but they drew absolutely superbly in that mull to 5. I don't think they could have asked for a better selection of cards there. They had everything off the top at the right time, which is sometimes going to happen, but I think our deck isn't very good, which is probably why we're struggling a little bit. Okay, we finished 1 and 4, so let's talk about this deck. Alright, so I think this deck has some stuff in it that is quite powerful. Like just playing like Chalice on turn 1 can sometimes shut an opponent down, but it's not as reliable as it used to be. Trinisphere on turn 1 can definitely shut people down, as can the Archon of Emeria. The issue is we are kind of skewing our mana base in a way where it's a lot more fragile, and the payoffs just aren't very good. So the initiative decks, their payoffs are things like initiative creatures, which automatically draw you a card, which is a land, which kind of offsets the fact that your mana base is fragile, lets you continue playing your spells, and if your opponent answers the creature, they're still going to die to initiative, unless they can steal it. And if they don't answer your creature, they die very, very quickly. Whereas we don't have very good threats. Like 2 or 3 power is about the most we're managing, unless we're getting an Urza Saga. But even then, they're not that big. We don't have that many artifacts necessarily that we can rely on these to be big guys. So this kind of reminds me a lot of the Perez deck that I've played a couple of times on the channel, which is similar to this, except we're not running like the artifact mana in it. You run things like Thalia and Seasoned Dungeoneer. So you have a big payoff in Seasoned Dungeoneer, whereas we don't have that big payoff, which is where it just feels lackluster to me. Like there's definitely like hands you can have with this, which will beat other people's hands for sure. But you have to muddle in quite deep to try anything. And, you know, we had things where we played a turn 1 like Archon of Emeria, and then our opponent just had 1 Solitude, and then it completely destroyed our entire hand and we had nothing. And it just feels like this deck is working really, really hard to do something that you could just do better in Red-White Initiative, right? I don't think Prison Pieces are very good in Legacy at the moment. I think a lot of decks have got main deck answers to Prison Pieces, whether that be Beseiju, Prismatic Ending, Leyline Binding, Assassin's Trophy out of the like Stryfo piles and stuff. So, and you know, there are bounce stuff as well that can be used on it, like Borrower and stuff, which can buy them the turn they need. So it just doesn't feel like Prison Pieces are worth playing that much. Now, yes, you will be able to shut down some decks, and they're going to be very good against combo decks. But the problem is a lot of the field isn't combo decks at the moment. Like, you know, there's a decent slice of combo decks for sure. But some of these combo decks don't really care about Chalice and Trinisphere very much. And they have ways around it that is relatively easy for them. And, like, a lot of the aggro decks, or, like, basically any deck with creature is probably outclassing a lot of our creatures, which is, again, a bit of an issue for us. So I just don't really like any of the things we're doing in this deck that much. It feels like we're playing a worse version of a really good deck, which means sometimes, you know, we will be playing cards that will get us there and it'll be fine. Sometimes worse is okay, but like the floor of our deck is a lot lower than something like Initiative, where it also has a much higher ceiling. Like we got absolutely spanked by a multitude of stuff today, and whilst I did watch Phil's video where he recorded with this and managed to get the 5-0. I think that's more the aberration rather than the standard for this. Like, our mana base did not feel great. Like, having an Ancient Tomb when you want a City of Traitors and vice versa ends up costing us quite a lot, because we don't have, like, the big powerful haymakers. We can't just go, like, oh, 4th Eolingus or Seasoned Dungeoneer or something big that just wins the game. We're just trying to grind our opponent out a little bit, but we don't really have the tools to be a grindy deck. You know, we're hoping that our Prison Pieces do enough, but they don't, which is the problem in the format right now for this sort of deck. You need to have a strong clock. It's why Mono Red Prison now runs like loads of guys. It's got your like 8 Rabble Master type guys. I can't remember the other, Legion Warboss, I think the other one's called. And then it's obviously got Faerie the Mirror Breaker, which can beat down reasonably well and obviously flips and give you crazy value. It's got the Endurances, sometimes plays Lelia, and obviously still has the Caves of Chaos Adventurer. So even the prison decks are running a lot more aggro pieces, so I don't think taking a good deck in Mono White Initiative or Mono White Humans or whatever, that sort of jam, and then making it worse to put in all these prison pieces is a winning formula. That's my view. And I don't think our sideboard is great. It's kind of all over the shop. However, we did manage to win a game because we cast Ravages of War. And I'm going to take that one as a victory. I honestly, in good conscience, can't recommend this deck list. I think if you want to play some sort of mono white Urza Saga strategy, you want to look at the Perez deck list. So just put his name into, or their name, sorry, into MTG Goldfish. Well, I don't know what their pronouns are, so there is just a safe one. Anyway, so put them into MTG Goldfish and have a look at their mono-white lists with Urza Saga and Thalia and Seasoned Dungeoneer. Now, I don't think that deck is as good as Initiative anyway, or the mono-white Humans deck either. I think those are all better. But I think that's a better version of playing the Urza Saga-y, Wasteland-y type strategy in a mono-white shell like this. Obviously, if you want to play a different mono-white Urza Saga Wasteland strategy, I think mono-white Painter is okay. I think it's not as good as it was since Bowmasters came out and the format shifted a bit. There's just a lot more creature removal, and I don't think that deck is as good as it once was. But I think it's still viable and you can play it. But this one is definitely a thumbs down for me, unfortunately. Alright, I think I've successfully rambled about this one. And I still managed to Ravages of War someone out, so can't be too upset with any league which involves that. Alright, remember to like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and we are very close to December kicking off. I think by the time this video goes out, you'll have 2 more videos before December hits, roughly, if I've done my calculations right. So get ready for lots of 2020 steamy action. Alright, thank you once again for watching, and goodbye.